seen nothing yet.
All right, everybody, Gamble Up Podcast Episode 3 is off and running. It is July 17th, 2025. I'm your host, Dave Schwartz, alongside producer Roscoe P. Coltrane.
Hi. Nice to be on your show again.
And the other host, Mr. David Baker. David, I don't even know where to start. The World Series. So, I mean, I've been in the poker industry for 30 years. I've been doing content and podcasting for probably 20. I am trying to, it's been 24 hours and I don't even know how to comprehend what just went down. Not only, you know, obviously the main event, but all the different stuff around the main event and the lead up in the World Series, the rest of the events. I know we're going to try, we've got an hour here or so to try and get through a lot of it. So, but I just incredible theater on so many levels. So great and so bad for the world of poker on some levels too, but we'll get to some of that. David, have you kind of caught, and you, by the way, in event 99, almost banked your second bracelet of the summer. So you've been busy, playing poker to try and win more money. I'm trying to imagine when you sleep or how you've been able to take all this in.
Well, I am glad to be back on Gamble Up Pod. Hopefully we're going to do some more of these regularly. We wanted to do a little bit more during the World Series, but just schedule-wise, it was really tough. But we're here to do a wrap-up show, and this is my first downtime. I've basically been going 18 hours a day since the end of May. Since the last pod wrapped up, played an entire World Series, did Savage Invitational, did a whole World Series. But yeah, my day every day, I'll wake up between 10 and 11 o'clock. I try to be there by noon to 1, depending on if I have a day 2 restart. I usually play till 1 a.m. Get home, takes me a couple hours to fall asleep by 3 and do it all again. But, I love it. This was, every summer is unique in its own way and it has its storylines, but I would say that this is one of the best summers when, we're recapping summers that you'll never forget. This one's got to be high up there. Obviously, just from a fan's perspective, there's so much that we could talk about it. But personally, for me, this was my best summer ever from just the results and money and everything standpoint. So happy to get into it and dig into it. And, where do you want to start us off first?
Well, there's lots to cover for sure, and we'll get to a bunch of this stuff. And I know you don't really love talking about yourself or,
Wait, what? I don't like talking about myself? Have you met me, Adam? I love to talk about myself. I'm my favorite subject.
Sarcasm was dripping, I think. But you mentioned it too, right? Like, you get home, get to sleep, and it's hard to get to sleep after grinding and in some of the biggest tournaments in the world, staring at the ceiling. I know when I come off a poker session, I can't just roll into the rack and pass out. So, you hear a lot of people talking about how tough of a grind it is for somebody who's putting in massive volume every year. Do you get sick? Do you find yourself needing a day off? Do you play better with more play? Like, just how do you approach it as far as a fatigue sort of nutrition wise? Just maybe a quick couple of minutes, because I'm interested in a guy like you who just plays nonstop every day and how you prepare yourself for that.
I mean, well, going back to our last episode when I said, more people have to have more heart and go out there and just play and grind and do, just be out there. I mean, Sean Deeb and I both models of fitness and, good habits and everything. Look, I'm a big heart guy. I love the heart guys, the Sievers, the Deebs, even like Josh Arya, like whatever, Marco Johnson, all the guys who it doesn't matter whether you're running good, you're running bad, you're winning, you're losing. They get up the next day, they play the tournament, they bust, they go play the next tournament. I mean, obviously, maybe a little bit suffers from being a little bit tired, but I also think just being in there and having that fighter mentality, you're just kind of like that UFC fighter. Like, it doesn't matter what fingers they bend back, how they bend back your legs, what they do, the cheap shots they get in, the low blows, like I'm just a warrior in there. I mean, I'm just fighting. I'm fighting every day, and I love it. I absolutely love it. The funny thing was the last event was the 5K no limit, and that was not yesterday, but the day before. Whatever, it's the penultimate day to the series, and earlier that day, I busted the 25K horse for my second bullet. So it's 50,000 down the tubes. I played the closer, which was the 1,500. I busted my first bullet in no time, bluffed it off. And then my second bullet, I built up a big stack. And then I got a couple of unfortunate hands. Then I was like, all right, 5K, no limit. I sat down. I took a 3-outer on the turn for all of it. I re-registered the last bullet. And, I won a hand, whatever. Then I went immediately on break, and I'm walking on break, and I run into my friend Ankush Mandavia, and we're walking, to the restroom on break. And I said, this is the first time all summer where, I'm like, okay, I'm done. I've reached the wall, and it was crazy. It took to the very last event before I reached the wall, and I was done. And then I ended up coming back and running it up, and I ended up getting third in that event last night. So it's kind of just a testament to who I am and how I approach the series. Is it doesn't matter whether I'm feeling my best, whether I'm at my most confident, whether I'm feeling down, whether I'm feeling tired. I'm a strong believer in being in there and battling and giving yourself a chance every single day, because you don't know. You just don't know when it's your tournament. You don't know when it's your time. And, I'm talking to my wife, and she gets these feelings about tournaments all the time. Like, you're going to do well in this one or whatever. And we were talking last night. She was like, yeah, I had zero expectations for this one. You told me you were firing another bullet. And I'm like, well, at least we need the tax write-off. Like, she literally thought I was drawing dead, which is not like her, because she's like my biggest fan and supportive, but she could feel like I was kind of done. But at the same time, I didn't let it creep into my play at all. I kind of feel like it might have been one of the best tournaments I've played all year, despite not being at my best physically. But that's just kind of how it is at the World Series. And these guys who are just soft and they go home afterwards and it's, I need rest, I need a break. No, get in there and battle, because you don't know which event is yours. And I just want to give myself the most shots at it. And, that one worked out.
Well, speaking of shots, so you take down event 40, the 5K high roller, seniors event, and your first no limit bracelet, right? And you have 3 limit bracelets from before. This is your 4th, 646,000. I'm sure it doesn't hurt either, but important that you took down a no limit bracelet for yourself as well, and almost last night for your second one. But being a well-rounded player in this age of tournament poker is really kind of a big deal.
Yeah, it's funny. I've had a lot of success in no limit in general. Throughout my career, I've made deep runs in lots of big events. I won the LAPC. I've done a lot of things, and I still, at least 15 times a World Series, I sit down in no limit. They're like, "What are you doing here? I didn't know you played no limit." It's like people just haven't been paying attention. And for me to actually get that World Series no limit bracelet, it's like, check. It's like another thing I can check off the list. It's like, I kind of let the haters and the doubters fuel me. I'm sure that's wrong and might be wrong for a lot of people, but it's good for me personally. And I never really get mentioned in the same space as some of the elites or even the second elites. I'm always like in the other guys and that other mentions. And it's always like, yeah, but I always feel like it's like, yeah, ODB's had success. Yeah, but what about a big no limit tournament? Well, okay, I won a WPT. Yeah, but what about a WSOP, no limit turn? It's like, I'm just constantly trying to check boxes off when they can just say, yeah, but. So for me personally, it was just another yeah, but moment to be able to cross off. But more importantly, people who know me and have been around me, I've dedicated my whole life towards two things, poker and my family. And I've used poker as a way to take care of my family. And I don't have the bankroll. I don't have the retirement. I don't have the things that so many poker players have because I put money into my family. I've put money into my children. I took care of my ex-wife. Our marriage didn't work out. I gave her way more than anybody would ever give an ex-wife and continue to do so. I took care of my children. I took care of my wife's children. So I never had that financial cushion that so many pros that have had the success that I have. So this tournament was kind of just that moment where it's like, okay, not only did I win a big tournament, but my children are all in college. My wife and I have a house that we've completely remodeled and we don't have any more expenses on it. It's like I finally won some money that I can use for me and my bankroll and making sure that my wife is taken care of for, the rest of our life. Not that money's going to take me for the rest of our life, but it's going to buy me more opportunities and not have to worry about, well, if I don't succeed this week, what are we going to do? So it was a very big, humbling, emotional win. If you haven't seen my winner's interview, you can find it on PokerGo, and I tweeted it out. You can kind of scroll back through my Twitter.
Team Australia, baby.
Let's go.
Thank you. See David Baker now.
Let's go. I'm going to Australia.
What's up? Yeah, we're just relying on them.
I people who know me, and I know like how much I love this stuff, and what a journey it's been for me. I've spent my entire life grinding poker. I grind at the mid-stakes tournaments for the most part. I do play, obviously, all the World Series stuff, but mid-stakes cash. And I don't know, this one just felt different because this was like a real score. Like, and not only did I win the bracelet, but I won a lot of money. And just knowing that I'm going to be able to take care of my wife and not have to just grind so damn much. I spend so much time at the poker table. So that was kind of a relief. I don't know. I've always wanted to win a no limit bracelet. So this checks that off the box. I don't know. It was just emotional. I flopped him basically dead, and then he turns 4 outs, and I'm like, no, not like this, not like this. But yeah, I mean, it was amazing. Yeah, it's great. I mean, my wife is everything. She's, in poker terms, she's the stone cold nuts. I mean, she's the best wife possible. She's the best person. I love her with all my heart. She supports me no matter what. When I'm running bad, when I'm losing, she's there. When I'm winning, she's there. So yeah, I mean, obviously getting to celebrate these moments with her, this is why I do it. I mean, just for days like this.
But, I broke down. I cried for probably only the second or third time in my poker career, and probably the first time after a win. I've had lots of wins, and not to brag, I mean, I've had some wins, but I've never cried from like a win. I had a couple losses that teared me up, but I kind of keep my emotions somewhat in check when it comes to that stuff. But it all came like flooding afterwards, like the reality that not only did I win a bracelet, but I won some security for my family, and that means the world to me. It's my 4th bracelet, but my other 3 bracelets combined didn't pay out what this one paid. So it was just a big moment for me. And I was glad my wife and my mom were there to share it with me. My best friends were there. Yeah, it was a great moment.
That's pretty awesome. And last night, I'm sure didn't help or didn't hurt either. I mean, you've got 200 and what was it, 60,000 or something? That's probably more than
280, I think.
280. So that's probably more than the other bracelets, right? For a third.
Yeah. It was. Yesterday was just kind of weird because I kind of had to play tight to the bubble. I just kind of hung around. I didn't really have a lot of chips. So this is a 5K no limit. It's a turbo structure. It's a 2-day event at the end of the series. Everybody's kind of lost their mind at this point. I mean, everybody at our tables just like losing their minds, but we're just having fun and everything. I just kind of just folded my way to the money. I mean, I pick up a pot here or there, but just kind of whatever. I'm just like, let's just get this last cash in and be good. I bagged up 225,000, which we were coming back to 25,000 blinds. So I had 9 blinds. I get my seat draw. I draw the big blind. I look up. We got 5 people to $1,000 pay jump. I'm like, all right, we'll just kind of fold out this round unless we get a good hand. Let's just pick up that and then kind of go on from there. Got the pay jump. Ended up finding a double, but just kind of hung around, whatever. Hit another pay jump. I'm just sitting around there, 7 to 10 blinds. And all of a sudden, I win a pot. I win another pot. I win another pot. Boom. I got 1.2 million. It's like, oh, I'm near the top of the chip counts. It's like, oh, okay. Then I play a huge pot and I lose it on the river. I get down and then I lose another pot and I'm back to 160,000 with the blinds like 40K or something. I have like 4 blinds. I'm like, okay, well, it was a good run. I laddered up 2-3 spots. Like I'm going to go out in 30th. No big deal. And then all of a sudden, boom, I ran it up again. And I have all these chips. And then I just kept winning like huge hands, making big bluffs, making sick value bets. Just everything was just going my way. And I built up this big stack. And we get to the final table and I'm like big chip leader. I'm busting people. Next thing I know, I'm just like, holy shit, I'm about to win another one. And then, I built up a big chip lead and then I lost an all in. Somebody had an all in. I had ace jack versus king queen, hit the river. No big deal. A standard poker hand. Then I'm getting short again, but then I build back up and I get a big chip lead again without winning any all ins, just by being aggressive and taking my spots and doing everything. Then boom, I lose another all in. Okay. Now I'm back short again. Then we're forehanded. Boom. I blow it up again, get chip lead without winning all ins. Just winning all these pots and doing all these things. And then eventually it just succumb. I just didn't win the last one. But every time I just kind of built it up and I was like, here we go again. And could this really be like 2 bracelets in the summer, both no limit, both 5K no limits? It would have been so cool to win the seniors and the youngsters, like 5K. The seniors, slow structure, old people, the 5K turbos, like that's a young man's game, the turbo, that would have just been cool. Little story, probably wouldn't have made the top 5 stories of the World Series, but would have been my top. But I mean, that's like a top 10 story, a guy like Grinder, like me, like not Grinder, but a Grinder like me, winning 2 5K no limit bracelets in the same year would have been pretty sick. So I was pretty excited about that, but I'm not going to complain about third because the way I got there, I played as good a tournament as I could have played and I was short many times. So, I'm thrilled with like how it ended up.
And the great score as well. So let's get back to the beginning of the World Series, a couple of stories, and we'll work our way through. Early in the series, actually really early comparatively, Benny Glaser wins 3 bracelets out of the box, maybe in the first half of the World Series, I think. And he's sort of runaway leader in the Player of the Year at the point. We'll touch on Player of the Year later. But pretty awesome that he just kind of steamrolled early. Kind of feels as didn't win another one, obviously, or really challenge for one, but great story at the beginning of the World Series. The other story is a little more controversial, but let's jump into it. So Club WPT Gold is, the World Poker Tour, the World Series of Poker are competitors. The Club WPT Gold is the sweepstakes model. It is the online version of the World Poker Tour. And they ran a promotion before the World Series where if you won one of their gold passes in an online tournament, you would get a $1 million bonus if that same player who won a gold pass won one of the designated World Series of Poker tournaments during the summer. So it was a bit of a, it's Club WPT trying to brand rubs, maybe, so to speak, or what. But it's a promotion aimed at their players to try and go spend some money at the World Series of Poker. And that's just what they did. They actually had one early. Michael Lavin won $1 million when he won event 20 in the $1,500 no limit shootout. He had also won a gold pass. And then we get to the Millie Maker, the famous, the cattle call, so to speak, for the recreational player that comes out. The Millionaire Maker at the World Series of Poker always draws a huge field. And this was one of the tournaments on the WPT Club, the Club WPT Gold list. If you, won the gold pass and won this tournament, you get an extra $1 million. Now, when you get to the World Series of Poker Millionaire Maker final table, first prize isn't much more than the $1 million, right? It's the Millionaire Maker. But Club WPT Gold is adding $1 million to this prize pool, so to speak. So one of the players, Jesse Yaganuma, who had won a bracelet before, he's an accomplished tournament player, did have one of these passes, and he made the final table of the Millie Maker at the World Series of Poker. Now, he is short in chips, and he gets down to heads up. Well, there's a bit of a story before that, but when he gets to heads up, he's James Carroll has a huge chip lead on Jesse. I think it's 8 or 9 to 1 or something, just a massive chip lead. And Poker Go is streaming the coverage of the final table, the Millie Maker, and if you're on Twitter and you're watching sort of Poker Twitter explode, it is because it's become pretty obvious that these fellas have made a deal for the extra $1 million. So they added together first and second, and now we've got an extra $1 million from Club WPT. The complicating factor is the World Series of Poker does not allow deals. They have never allowed deals. They're, I think, the only major tournament series in the world that will not facilitate deals, between the poker players, which is insane because the poker tournaments are funded by poker players. This is the poker players' money. It's our money. We should be able to chop it up as we see fit or make deals and facilitate it by the tour. Whatever reason, they've steadfastly refused to allow this to happen. So it gets heads up. It's clear that there's a collusion going on between James and Jesse, and Jesse ends up coming back and winning the bracelet, the bracelet, first place prize from the World Series, plus the $1 million guarantee, or the $1 million bonus from Club WPT Gold. Now, so the question is, is this collusion? Is this cheating? Because the WSOP did an investigation into this tournament and decided that they weren't going to award a bracelet. They were going to award the money, but they weren't going to award the bracelet. They weren't going to declare a winner. And these two players have now got lifetime bans from the World Series of Poker and all the properties, too, I believe, that Caesars owns. Harsh, very, very harsh decision for Jesse and James. I think Daniel Negran, who came out and said on his vlog, because Daniel's part of the decision-making crew at the World Series. He's always been on the Poker Players Council for the World Series. I'm sure he's as the forefront player in our community as Jack and everybody else at the World Series looks to him for his opinion. Daniel said that they did approach the third place finisher to make a deal who refused. So it becomes problematic at that point. But I just I'm fleshing it out a bit, David. I want to get your take on this because for me, this seemed a real harsh decision. Should something have been done? Yeah, I get that they don't award the bracelet, but banning these guys for life seems really, really harsh.
Well, this is a very nuanced discussion. There are a lot of different factors. I've wanted a free-form spot where I could kind of discuss my takes on it. So I'm just going to let them ride one by one and parse through it. First off, I want to start and premise this by saying I absolutely love the World Series. It's my favorite thing in the world other than my family. I absolutely love the World Series. There's nothing I would rather do than play the World Series of Poker. I also love the World Poker Tour. Being a Champion Club member, I'm honored to be there. I love going to the WPT events. So nothing that I say will change that, on either side of it. I think everybody is at fault in this. Let's just start off with WPT Global. I think they are extremely at fault. They both of them are kind of have basically declared war on each other. They're going to try and sabotage each other's brand, which I think is bullshit. I think we need to keep, I think for poker to succeed and grow, yes, we need competition, but we can have competition with boundaries. This all started a couple years ago when World Series decided to plop their Bahamas paradise right in the middle of WPT's main event at the Wynn when they knew that that was the case. And WPT put a $40 million guarantee on, and then they put this paradise after they announced that and tried to basically sabotage their main event. So I think this is kind of like the root of where it all started. And now WPTs comes back with this, what I think is quite frankly, a ridiculous and insulting promotion, which some will say, what, you're against WPT just giving money to poker players? No, but I am against them doing it in the form that they did. They knew that this would be a situation. They knew that this would come up. Everybody, we all talked about it. That this was a recipe for disaster and collusion at the final table. Did Jesse and James collude heads up? No. But it opened itself up for collusion at the final table when there were more players involved. So in my opinion, this was extremely unprofessional and very bad of the WPT. I totally echo Daniel's sentiments that this was a slimy, scummy promotion. That being said, the WSOP is extremely at fault here. We all knew that this was going to happen, whether it was in the first event, the one that Daniel Strelitz got close to, he got third. If it was the shootout where the guy won with no deal needed because of the way the chip distribution was, whether it was this one, whether it was a future one, this was always going to happen. And the World Series had to have seen that it was going to happen. And there should have been a conversation before each final table that there's a WPT Gold Pass member that says, hey, we understand alignments are not the same. Financial alignments are not the same for all of you. You guys are expected to play poker and there will be absolutely no collusion. There will be absolutely nothing done that is not looked at. You guys play poker. And if the person with the gold pass wins, then he wins the $1 million, but we will not allow anything that sours it. Then they would have been put on notice. But the WSOP didn't put them on notice. So really the only people that I think can be mad at them throwing the match so that Jesse won over James is the WPT Global, because they're the ones who are stuck holding the $1 million ticket. From my information, not firsthand, not secondhand, but third hand, fourth hand by multiple people, is that the WPT gave them permission to essentially throw the match. So now you're basically stepping on the World Series brand. And these players, they probably should have seen that this had a potential to happen. They may have done it anyway. I don't know what would happen if you're in that spot. Everybody's going to handle that situation different. I don't fault them anyway. Once WPT, if that happened, signed off on it being okay and they were not going to strip them of the $1 million and they were going to pay it regardless as long as Jesse ended up winning, I can't blame them. Like they didn't steal anything from anybody. They didn't steal from World Poker Tour because World Poker Tour gave them permission. They didn't really steal from the WSOP because the money was going to be given out anyway. There's been absolutely not one hand that has been shown before heads up that could have at all been cited as being collusionary. So you can just take out anything that may or may not have happened 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 handed until there's any proof of anything that affected the play. Whether there was conversations or not is 100% irrelevant to there was no play that went along. The ban is unfortunate. I hope that the ban gets overturned. But also one more thing that I want to say on this before I get off the diatribe, because, this has been a long soliloquy, but this isn't about deal making. This is not about deal making. Deals happen at the World Series. Do they happen as much as other places? No. The World Series would not have suspended them for making a deal. What they did suspend them for was changing the outcome of the match. There's a difference between we're going to divide up the money and play for the bracelet. There's a difference between we're going to take 100,000 off the top and give it to the next person when we're heads up, because this is a variance fest. They didn't do that. They didn't make a deal. Through the match, they made a deal to predetermine who the winner is. That to me is completely different from making a deal that changes the financial incentives, not the financial incentives, but the financial outcome of, the tournament. So that's just where I want to differentiate. Anybody who says that the World Series doesn't permit deal making and that's all they did was make a deal. No, they didn't make a deal. They made a deal to take $1 million from an outside entity that swayed who won. The World Series is big on promotion, and the bracelets have been watered down. We can all agree on that. They don't mean nearly what they used to a lot of people. Winning a 100-person tournament in Pennsylvania for $13,000 has the same, tally as, any other bracelet. Yes, we can all agree on all these things, but that doesn't mean that the World Series has one of their premier events, the Millionaire Maker, discredited of who won and did the rightful winner win because of a backroom deal to basically take $1 million from a foreign entity. So that's where I have the issue. If the World Poker Tour would have stepped in and said, "Hey, we're gonna just add $1 million to whoever wins the Millie Maker," cool. That's fine, but they misaligned incentives, and these players chose to predetermine the winner. Again, no shade on them. I'm a big fan of Jesse. I'm a big fan of James Carroll, two of the wonderful professionals in our game, two guys who have always handled themselves with respect and class to players, dealers, outside people, staff, everybody. So this is no shade on them, and I'm not going to throw any shade on them whatsoever, but what I've said is kind of my feelings on.
Is it problematic that they approached the third place guy, or the guy in third when they were 3-handed and said, "Let's do a deal," and then he refuses at that point? Because that seems to me like the major issue, because now obviously James and Jesse, whether they are going to do it or not, are massively incentivized to knock that player out and finish first and second. It's worth $1 million if they know they're going to do a deal. If they do get heads up, and I'd be hard pressed to find somebody that might play differently given that knowledge.
Well, I mean, first off, this is second and third hand information. I don't think Josh has come out and said that. This is from Daniel.
But Daniel did in his vlog.
I understand. I know what Daniel said, but I'm not saying it did or didn't occur, but I'm saying Josh didn't come out and say it. And also Josh didn't say that he felt like he was played differently about. And also, if the three of them discussed the potential of doing it and Josh decided not to, that doesn't mean that that James and Jesse had a deal worked out that they would make a deal.
Sure.
I'm not going to, I personally do kind of know the timings of it, but I will say that there was no deal instituted when it was 3-handed. There was no deal between James and Jesse. I can say that unequivocally, 100%. I know that they did not have a deal. They played 3-handed. Josh had a big chip lead. Josh put all his chips in with 2 3s versus 2 jacks in a spot where he thought that he would win it right there, and he didn't. And Josh is 10 times the player I am and a great player. And some people, think that wasn't the best play. Some people think it was fine, whatever. But Josh played his cards and he played to win, and he didn't. He came in third. I had a big chip lead yesterday and three-handed, and I came in third as well. That happens. And I don't think that we can accuse either of these two players of doing anything until there's one hand that's found or Josh comes out and says, I feel like they did something different. It is irresponsible of us to promote any notion or do anything that may imply, suggest that there was anything unethical being done until they got heads up. So I just want it to be 100% clear that regardless of what Daniel said and whether he's right that happened or wrong, I know the answer, but I'm not going to say it. But it just takes away from the real issues of it. And obviously, if those two said once Josh went out, well, fuck Josh, we're going to chop this thing up. If we get heads up, let's go after them and stay out of each other's way. If they did that, 100% wrong. If there's any proof of that, burn them at the stake, whatever, poker stake, metaphorically speaking. But that's not what happened, and that there is absolutely no indication of that. So I think that's getting off the point if we focus on that.
Yeah, I didn't mean to suggest that the three guys would do that. What I was talking about more was from the World Series point of view, where they're trying to decide on punishment or how to deal with this. They're dealing with sort of a meta, the macro situation rather than the three individuals or what happened. Now, honestly, I don't know if I didn't really look closely at the hands to even have a look three-handed to see if anything happened, but more from the World Series point of view, where if it was just got down to Jesse and James, and then they clearly made a deal or whatever, or that's what they told the World Series, then again, I think this punishment's overly harsh to ban them forever. Whether they rescind that or not is really a moot point at this, because they have said it's a lifetime ban or whatever. But the only thing I was thinking, well, from the World Series point of view, is a little bit different when that happens. Again,
but there's zero proof of that. Josh has not come out and said that. Okay. So this is all hearsay, conjecture, second, third hand. So it's a moot point as far as I'm concerned. At this point, now if there's some information later on that we need to gather and whatever, then that's fine. It can be addressed. I think banning them for this year was totally fair. Because they basically made a mockery of the bracelet and the tournament. So I'm totally fine with the ban. Now, I'm big fans of those guys, and I hope they're allowed back, and they should be allowed back. I think they served a punishment. And I think the poker world was put on notice that we're not going to tolerate throwing an event so that one person wins versus the other. That does not mean that deal making will get you banned. Deal making is a part of it. Deal making has been going on for a while. And yes, I'm sure people threw bracelets back in the day or whatever, but so at what point does this become okay? So if Benny says to his competitor, hey, I'm going to win player of the year here, this is worth so much money to me, I'll give you $100,000 to let me win the bracelet. Is that okay? I mean, are you okay with that as a poker watching people? I'm not. Personally, I'm not. So there comes a point where you have to stand your ground and say, look, we understand that these bracelets are devalued. We understand as a poker playing community that, everybody's kind of got to look out for themselves. The World Series doesn't do us any favors. They don't pay us money for our likeness. We get put on the streams and they don't give us anything. They don't even let you get patched up some of these things, which is another issue. There's a lot of issues and there's a lot of things, but at the end of it, the World Series is putting out a product, and as devalued as it gets, we have to draw the line somewhere. And buying a bracelet is wrong. I mean, there was a time where Tom Dwan was playing this nobody, and he had 10 million on the line for winning a bracelet. Like, what if Tom just says, I'll give you $1 million if you throw this? Like, is that okay? It's not to me. I care about this too much to allow it to be okay. So I'm not okay with them throwing it, but the WPT put them in a ridiculous position, and I understand it. But I also understand the World Series saying, "Hey, not on my watch. We're not gonna do this." So I hope that kind of clears up and gives people like the different sides of it. Because I've wanted a long form spot to kind of express it. I think I have the most macro view of it all. I'm not personally like tied to one or the other. I love them both. I really like the two participants, but they're not my best friends. So I think I'm allowed, and I think I have a macro enough view of this where I can, I think we can put it, we can assess the blame everywhere, and hopefully in the future we can anticipate these things happening and stop them.
All right, let's move on to one of the other issues that came up sort of midway through the series was a player profile who is at the table, is very talkative, is irritating to some, is time wasting, and this was Martin Kabrhel. And he was sort of got all the attention sort of halfway through the series, only to be surpassed later, that we'll talk about for sure. But I want to get your take on Martin and how he approaches playing the game. Stalling, talking to people, trying to intimidate, I guess, is what he's trying to do. But disruptive, to say the least. And it's sort of, he got a lot of attention, and I just got sick and tired of reading about Martin Kabrhel. And like every day I'd wake up and, engage in the coverage that had come from the World Series that day. And it was all about Kabrhel and clips of him being super irritating to people. And it gets worse. I get it later. But I wanted to ask you about Martin. Did you end up playing with him? What do you think about his style?
I played with him in the past. I was fortunate to not have to play with him this summer. I don't like Martin. I think he's extremely bad for the game. Is he entertaining product? Yeah, somewhat in small doses, clips, whatever. But he's extremely slow. He's irritating. He's disrespectful. And you could say the same things about Kassouf to some extent. They're disrespectful to the floor. They're disrespectful to the players. They're disrespectful to the game. And they make it an unpleasant environment to be in. And if you get multiple people trying to mimic that behavior, it makes the game unplayable. So yeah, I'm anti these people. Am I for having fun and being a showman and doing things? Absolutely. I love to have fun at the table. I love to talk. I love to engage. I like whatever. I mean, we saw it on the biggest stage, Grinder, doing that and being a showman. And yeah, it's great. It's fun. It's fine. But when you're every single hand, waiting before you look at your cards, talking to everybody, looking at your cards, having absolutely zero decisions, and making it 2 minutes about you, 3 minutes about you, it's just not acceptable, and it's just not going to work long term. I don't really know how to address it. People say shot clocks, but that's not the solve. Because once you institute shot clocks, a lot of times people just max use the shot clock before making their decision because that's what other people are doing. And then you just get into this whole game of every single person takes 15 seconds to make the first decision and then 30 seconds on the next street. And it just ends up, a lot of times I find the shot clock tournaments go slower than the regular ones. Now, obviously the bigger decisions are the ones that get amplified. So we see them and we're like, oh, this wouldn't happen if it wasn't for a shot clock. But that's never really the issue for me. I don't mind big decisions, big times and big decisions in hands or spots in the tournament. But what I do mind is it's raised 3-bet, 4-bet, and you look down at 8-5 offsuit in the small blind, and you're like, how many chips do you have? How many chips do you have? How many chips do you have? And that whole nonsense, I'm out. Like, that's where you lose me.
Do you think it's effective from his point of view? Like, are people afraid to play hands or less likely to play hands against him when he's doing that shit? Like, I'm just wondering.
Yeah, it's definitely a strategical edge that, whenever you get your opponents out of their comfort zone, then they're more likely to play a hand poorly versus you. Whether that's, to try to bust you, whether that's to try to get the hell out and rebuy, and get a different table, whether that's just them not concentrating, looking at their phone because, they know that this is going to be a 7-minute diatribe. It's whatever. It gets people out of their comfort zone. And yeah, on one side, I can respect trying to get people a little out of their comfort zone, but on the other side, when you're disrespecting the other players at the table, and their right to try to play the tournament, then yeah, I think that becomes a problem. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm out in general on Kabrhel and Kassouf, but more what I'm out on is just that spreads to people who are more annoying, less funny, longer. With everything that happens in life, gets mimicked and amplified. It's like the copycats are always worse than the originals. So yeah, it's something that as a poker industry, we have to find a way to address. And also more than that, they're both extremely rude to the floor people. And
dealers. Yeah.
And dealers. And one thing I've tried very hard in my poker career to do is treat everybody the same. Excuse me. And, the floor people that work the World Series have risen to the highest ranks of their job. Same with the dealers in the higher stakes and the later portions of the tournaments. So to treat them with disrespect is, disrespectful.
Yeah. I mean, I guess while we're talking about Martin, we might as well, talk about Kassouf as well. And part of my problem was the poker industry and how we sort of treated them this year. And they were on, like I was saying before, they were on Poker Go's feature table, or Kassouf was on Poker Go's feature table at every opportunity. It was, all our media was playing clips and talking about them nonstop. And I'm just thinking, why are we this exactly to your point? The imitators are worse than the originals, and we're just going to get more people that, think that this is an advantage, or if they can disrupt everybody. And Kassouf kept saying, "You play my game, or you play your game, I'll play mine." And I'm thinking, yeah, yours is annoying and against the rules, and is not sustainable if we all play the same way you do. The way we play is sustainable. We're all going to enjoy ourselves. We're all going to have fun, and take our time in spots, whatever, in certain spots, but not every hand. And your way is unsustainable, and that bothered me more. Well, Kassouf himself, I hope to never see again. But I just was a bit disappointed in the short-sighted view of the industry that it gets clicks. More clicks is better. Well, not always, and that was the case here for me. Yeah,
I mean the interests aren't all aligned equally, and that's kind of like the issue. From a standpoint of, you and I have both worked to grow poker ourselves, and building and growing the industry is a big factor for us. So we want to do things that help poker grow. Well, that's not Kassouf and Kabrhel's. They don't have to have that motivation. Their motivation is to maximize their EV in that spot, and do what they thought was best to give them the best chance. So their interests are not necessarily aligned that way. As for Poker Go and Poker.org and poker outlets and Poker News and everybody for covering it in this way, I mean, their interests are aligned with getting more views on their medium. So I can't necessarily blame them. It's are people going to click and watch them, or somebody quiet, just going about their business? And as much as I wish that people more cared about watching certain players, the fringe people tuned in for the Will Kassouf show. I mean, they did. It's that. I mean, that's just a fact. And it got more eyes on the game. How many of those eyes end up like being turned off from the game because of him versus being turned on to the game because of him? I don't know. I mean, my guess is that a whole press is good press. That's the old saying, right? So I cannot blame these people for putting them up, but I do think that all the outlets did a very good job of, while talking about them, while putting them on their biggest stages, the commentators did a very good job of explaining how polarizing, how annoying, how bad for the future and things they were. So I'm gonna say that I think that the media did a pretty good job this year with it all. Do I wish that Kabrhel got a few less camera time? Yeah. Do I wish that Kassouf was on a little bit less? Yeah. But to be fair, both of those guys, they play that way whether they're on camera or not. They weren't doing it. This wasn't a camera show. They do the same shtick no matter what's going on. If they're playing, the 1K or the main event feature table, they've got the same shtick. So Poker Go and Poker Oregon, Poker News, like, they're reporting the news. And the news was these guys. So I don't know. I'm going to say that I give them, I think that they were fine. I think Kassouf probably could have gotten a little less main event coverage, but they got clicks, and the broadcasters did a very good job of explaining why he was being put on timeout, why he was getting things, why the players were upset. So yeah, I'm not as quick to burn the media this year as I have been in the past.
Yeah, I guess, when I'm paying $10 a month for Poker Go, not a lot of money, obviously, but I'm a paying customer, and maybe I'm in the minority, but I don't want to watch main event tables with Will Kassouf on it. I'll just turn it off, and kind of pisses me off because there's other tables that I want to watch, and I'm not getting to watch that because this guy is the clown show that we all have to watch. But yeah, I get your point that, in more to your point, you heard from people not in the poker industry. I think you were saying you did a podcast today from people who had heard about Kassouf or, would never have heard about the World Series, I'm sure, if it weren't for Kassouf, right?
Yeah, I was on, I did Straight Fire. You can find that on the podcatchers with Jason McIntyre. He's the co-host with Colin Cowherd. That's a mainstream person. He doesn't know anything about poker. We spent 45 minutes talking about poker, and Kassouf was a part of it. So yeah, it got more eyes on. It gets more eyes. I went on Bitch and Paulie show on Vista Network. They're on Sirius Radio. I did two segments with them a couple weeks ago. One of the first things they brought up was Kabrhel. It's a sports show. It's all about football, tennis, golf, hockey, baseball, and we're talking poker. So I don't know, there's a lot of negatives about them, but there's also some positives. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Helmuth is a sideshow in himself.
Yeah, he's kind of the inspiration for these guys. It seems like Kassouf seems like he's a tier above Kabrhel. I mean, at least Kabrhel has poker chops. He's in there playing the 250Ks. He's playing against the solver freaks, and he's holding his own.
Kassouf
is there basically only to cause a scene, and unfortunately, it does. I'm looking at the vlog numbers this year, and the one with clips of
Kassouf
is the most viewed of the entire series. So people tune in to see him, unfortunately, but I think he might be mentally ill.
Well, I think it's short term too, right? I don't think that's long term interest, or I would be surprised if it was. Are people gonna? Hey, where's Will Kassouf? I hope he makes it back again. I don't know.
You could have said the same thing about Helmut 20 years ago.
Yeah.
but obviously Helmuth has the accomplishments, and Helmuth is. But I mean, Helmuth berates amateurs consistently for the last 25 years, and pros alike when they beat him in hands. So I mean, this is no. I like Phil. Like we're friendly and everything, but look, you can't promote Phil Hellmuth in the World Series for 20 years, have these ridiculous entrances, call Northern European idiots. I'm going to burn down the Rio if I lose this hand, blah, 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 all this bullshit, storming out every time, and then not expect copycats to come in and be worse. I mean, so that's just kind of what it's what happened. And yes, Kassouf is a worse version of Hellmuth, and Kabrhel's a worse version of Hellmuth. Kabrhel's a worse version of Hellmuth, and Kassouf's a worse version of Kabrhel. The difference is Hellmuth and Kabrhel don't have to go to these tendencies to perform and to be good and to win. And that's the part that's so annoying. Is like Kabrhel is a very good player. Like Kabrhel wins on his own merit. He's tough. He's very good. He's a very good hand reader. He's very good at what he does. He's a very good player. He's held his own at the highest stakes. So he just does it to be annoying. Like Kassouf needs this stuff. Like he's not very good. I mean, his hand range, his hand selections, his timing is awful, but he has to succumb and go to these secondhand tactics to get there. So like I almost give Kassouf a little bit more of a break than I give Kabrhel and Hellmuth, because like he needs to do that. I would 10 times rather be at a table with Kassouf than Kabrhel. Wow. Kassouf is, I mean, he's just an idiot that's going to give away his money. Like he's just going to raise under the gun with 9-4 off because he won the last hand. I mean, Kabrhel doesn't do that. Yeah. Kabrhel plays good poker. Like he's tough. Like if I have to put up with his nonsense, like at least give me somebody who's probably going to torch it later on during the day.
Then the issue about how the World Series handled him, they put him on a 5-second clock, a 10-second clock at one point, gave him penalties, killed his hand when he kind of walked away to look at somebody's stack, banned him from the World Series poker ultimately for 2025, not the property, but for the series and presumably for Bahamas as well. I guess. I don't know how to handle him other than penalties. I don't know about the clock like so much, but or how you approach that with him. It seems like there's different stages of a hand would require different lengths of time to reasonably act on his hand. But as far as all the other nonsense goes, giving him a round, if he doesn't shut up, give him 2 rounds. If he doesn't shut up, give him 3 rounds. I don't know. Really, it's a difficult situation that Jack and his crew are in.
Yeah, I mean, look, he deserves everything that he got. He pushed it. He kept pushing it. Eventually, like sometimes it's not the final thing that happens that, gets you all the stuff. It's just all the lead up. I made this analogy on Straight Fire podcast, but it's like Draymond Green. If you watch the NBA, I mean, he continuously gets technical fouls. He pushes people. He punches people. He grabs them. He yells at the official, the refs. And then sometimes he'll get a quick whistle on something he doesn't deserve. He'll get a quick technical. He'll get thrown out of the game just by a word. But your reputation at some point has to take over. And, if you don't want to be judged so harshly, then, make your body of work better. If I did something at the World Series that was deemed inappropriate, I would hope that I would get a little bit longer leash than Will Kassouf would. Just because my body of work has shown that I may have acted maybe not in malice or maybe a moment of weakness or something, but the respect that I've shown players, dealers, floor, the game of poker over my 25-year history has maybe afforded me, a grace. Whereas he does something less egregious and probably gets a harsher penalty. That's your body of work has to speak for something at some point.
Indeed. Quick story that would have been a really big story if certain things didn't go down later. But the Grinder wins his 4th Poker Players Championship. amazing accomplishment to win that tournament 4 times. Again, you're playing against the best players in the world. You're running the gauntlet. You're playing all the games. And for a guy who, I don't know how much, I could be wrong, but I'd be surprised if he played a lot of those games in between, the times that he comes to the World Series in the summer. But to take that down for the 4th time, amazing accomplishment for a guy. And I started playing against the grinder online in 2002, 2003, on Paradise Poker, Party Poker, Poker Stars, when the limit hold'em were the biggest games in the world. It's 30-60 limit hold'em, and he really deserved his name because I would play as much as I can. I mean, we all knew back in the day that this was the golden age of online poker, and do whatever you can to sit there for as long as you can because the games are not going to be this good forever. And so I tried to play a lot, but I'm sure the grinder played double the hands I played back then. I mean, every time I log on, he's just playing, and he absolutely earned his nickname. But to win this tournament, Dave, 4 times is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, he plays some cash. He plays cash. He plays the games. But this is just something I've said in general. Give me a great tournament player over a great cash game player in tournaments. And I don't care what the variant is. Tournament skill is a skill. It's a skill in its own right. Is he the most technical? No, he might actually be the worst technical person in the PPC. I mean, he's one of, but there's nobody who's better at understanding tournament dynamics, motivations, player profiles than Grinder. And it was well-deserved. He's an absolute beast. He's an anomaly. He's a one of a kind. He's everything that we all want to be in poker. And that's just, he's methodical. He's calculating and carefree all at the same time. There's a method to his madness. He respects the game. He loves the game. He respects his friends. He respects his competitors. He respects the staff. I'm not super close with Grinder, but we say hello, we talk, whatever. But I'm kind of in awe of the way that he has, the way he's done it. He doesn't do it the way I do it. He doesn't do it the way Jason Kuhn does it. Doesn't do it the way Brian Rast does it. He does it with just a set of skills that is just unparalleled, unmatched. He's a great ambassador for the game. And in a World Series full of great stories, he's the biggest. He deserves to be the biggest. From a guy that didn't even get drafted in 25K fantasy because people just didn't know if he'd have the bankroll to even play. To not having respect for his game, despite being one of the most accomplished players to ever be on the felt. To then come through and win on the 2 biggest stages. It's really just, it's things that you really can't even make a movie about. Like the Grinder movie is just not even a real movie. So it's kind of cool that we get that in our game. I spent a lot of time I was rooting for. I root for Grinder. A lot of the people at the final table were great stories. I was rooting for Margets, obviously, and Grinder, and all the other people there they all had their own stories in their own way. But kind of like the guy I wanted to see win at one point, I kind of switched who I was rooting for at different points. But the guy who came in second, Wozniak, he's the every man. He's the Dennis Phillips. He's the Darvin Moon. He's the dad, the sports fan, the casual player. Those are the people we want to bring into poker. So him winning would have been really cool. But there was no way that this story didn't have a Grinder ending. Like it needed to have the Grinder ending. Like the movie needed Grinder to win. And one day there'll either be a fiction or a documentary made on Grinder and Grinder's life, and it will be as much must-see TV as this World Series was. So yeah, he's a great representative for the game, and I'm glad that he's finally kind of getting some more of his praises from the poker public, because I mean, I've been playing and grinding with Grinder for 25 years, and the things he does, he leaves you shaking your head. But he does it his way, and that's kind of cool in a solver-based era where you're criticized by doing something not your way, not the percentage way that it's supposed to be. It's kind of cool to see somebody go against the grain and do it their way.
The hilarious thing about the Grinder movie is you're not going to have to embellish anything. Like you can just write the truth, and it's stranger than fiction, right?
I mean,
like
it's well documented at this point that he was in the strip clubs till 8 in the morning, like before day 7, like, and basically every day along the way. So I mean, it's kind of like, just the Grinder poker story in itself is one thing, but then the actual like playing on the biggest stage for the most amount of money, when like we all know that Grinder's had vices in his life and probably doesn't have the bankroll that he should, and probably is, somewhat backed in some way, shape, or form for a lot of his successes. For him to be on the stage when he needs it the most, like still doing he's going to do it his way. I'm going out. I'm spending time with my friends and doing the things that I love to do. And I'm still going to get it done because I don't need the sleep. I don't need the sauna. I don't need meditation. I don't need yoga. And I certainly don't need your stupid charts.
Yeah, I heard, I was reading stories that on day one of the main, he left like an hour early. He just left his stack and walked away. He was like just narrating hands and drinking at the table. It's extremely impressive. Would you say, David, that he's like most comparable to Phil Ivey in the way that he like approaches things?
No, not at all.
Is there any comparison to another?
Ivy. I think Ivy is pretty studied. I would say he's closer to Daniel than maybe not Daniel now, but Daniel of 5 years ago, 10 years ago, like. But actually, Grinder's most comparable to Grinder. I mean, it's just Grinder of now is still the Grinder of old. It's the game changed, but he didn't change. He found a way to win despite the game changing, and that's like it's kind of fitting that he went into the Hall of Fame after he won, because he changed the game and he stood the test of time, and he didn't change. The game changed around him, but he didn't change. He still found a way to win playing his game, which is like, I don't know, like Daniel found a way to win in his era, his earlier era. And then his way he was playing was not giving him the results that he wanted. So he went back into the lab and he learned a new way to play. And he adapted his game, and now he's a winner again, and a huge winner and success at everything that he does, but he adapted his game, whereas Grinder didn't do that. Grinder's like, no, I'm going to play my style, and I'm going to make it work. And that's just kind of cool in its own right to see.
The comparable to the Grinder for me is Lane Flack, like just absolutely plays on a different level and goes out late at night and doesn't care about his body or sleep or bankroll or any of that. That's exactly the way Lane was back in the day, from what I saw. But all right, before we get on to the game, what's that?
I was just gonna say there's just like a different level of like poker talent with him that
same was Lane. Lane was the same.
It's kind of like in baseball, it's like, oh well, Babe Ruth was out drinking and smoking cigarettes. Like it was different back then. Whereas the era that Lane Flack grew up in, he did it to the most extreme. He was the biggest partier. He was the biggest degen, but there weren't people playing technically solid. Everybody was field based, and he just outfield them. Like, he was a better field player than them. The difference, like, Grinder's doing it in a different era. It basically be like if Willie Stargell started playing baseball today, and you know what I'm saying? Like, he's in the back smoking cigarettes, just using
300
raw
pounds.
talent to do his thing and hit the baseball. Whereas today, every one of them have an iPad and they're looking at pitch locations and spin rates and this, and it's kind of like who's the golfer? Like, there's a golfer that doesn't use TrackMan, that doesn't like just beat balls at the range. He just goes out. He's John Daly. That's what Brian Daly.
That's what I was trying to find.
He's the John Daly. Like, and there are some golfers that are like that today. While Victor Hovland is worrying about every launch angle, every mile per hour, his release, every TrackMan stat. You've got guys out there you have Minwoo Lee out there, like, he's banging balls for 30 minutes and then he's going and he's doing a YouTube show. That's kind of the thing. I mean, when Minwoo Lee wins the US Open one year, and it's like, well, it's, versus Colin Morikawa, who, he gets one thing that's just a little bit off in his golf swing and it shuts him down for months, and he's got to figure. That's kind of how, like, the poker guys, like, they get stuck on one spot. It's like, well, what do I do with ace queen in this particular spot, or pair of five, whatever the spot is of the day or the month, and they get stuck in this one spot, and then they just lose sight of all the other things that are going on. It's like sometimes, Colin Morikawa, Victor Hovland, like, they do that. They try to, like, perfect their swing, like, every little bit of it, when the reality is, like, don't worry about that little part and just master, just be in your own element. And so that's kind of where I think Grinder versus, like, some of the now, if you put Grinder out on the Triton, or maybe not the Triton, because I think there's some soft spots there, but like maybe the PGT High Roller Series or whatever, Grinder would have some successes. There's no doubt about it, because he's just going to put people in an uncomfortable situation. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of luck that's in our game, but they're going to out technical him a lot. But that doesn't diminish, like, a lot of being great at poker is being able to navigate fields of diverse people. And that's where Grinder excels. That's where Daniel excels. That's where Phil excels. That's where I at a lesser level, that's where I excel. So I can respect that. Now, I do respect the guys who are very highly studied and everything, but, and that's what's really even the coolest about the main event. Last year, you had Jonathan Tamayo, highly studied. The Swedish guy, Lena, whatever, highly studied. Brian Kim, highly studied. Kristen Fox and Two Tables, highly studied. I'm sure there were a couple Europeans that are highly studied. This year, you have, other than Adam Hendricks, Leo, and I guess the Serbian guy was probably highly studied too, but Kenny and Kenny. Yeah. But, you had Wozniak, not highly studied. Dunaway, not highly studied. Grinder, not highly studied. Mangini, not highly studied. Good player, but he's not running sims. Like, I mean, the Korean kid, I doubt he was highly studied. So you get this mixture of people, and that's kind of great about the main event. Is we've had winners, we've had underdog stories that have come from all the walks.
Before we get on to a couple of more storylines from the main event, I just wanted to quickly give a little shout out to Esther Taylor, our golfing buddy, who finished third at that PPC final table to the Grinder. She becomes only the first woman to have two 500K plus cashes at the World Series of Poker. So I thought that was pretty cool. Shout out, way to go, Esther. Ite
came with it this year. I spent some time with her. She's a good friend, and we spent some time at the Savage Invitational. We've talked about before, the golf trip that I do every year, and we were there, and she was like, I'm going to play every day. I'm like, okay, I was like, I know you're talented. I don't know. I'm not sure if you're willingness to play every day. But if you're going to play every day, I'm going to draft you in fantasy. She's like, I'm going to play. And I'm like, all right, I know you can do it. I know you got the heart. I mean, I know you got the skills. I didn't know if you had like the drive to be there every day. She's like, I want to play. I'm going to play. So we drafted her on our fantasy team, and it was, I would have done the same regardless whether I had her on our fantasy team or not. I would have been sweating her hard, but that just added a different level and fun in rooting for her. And her coming in third in the PPC and making a deep run in the main, that's like 140th or 50th or something, was really a treat. And yeah, all the props to her. She is an amazing person and a wonderful ambassador for the game. And I'm glad that she got her due this year. And the crazy thing is, in most World Series, she'd be a top 3 story. Yeah. And because of Margets making the final table, Grinder with his success, Benny with his bracelets, Deeb with his, Kabrhel and Kassouf, like all these things, like she gets bumped down to like she's a top 10 story. But you know, I know I've talked to her a lot, and she's very humbled and grateful for the opportunity and the stage she got to play on and the things that she was able to do to bring joy to people that know and love her, and then also just be able to represent women. Yeah, it was great, and I'm glad that you brought her up, and I'm glad that we can give her some respect here.
And Leo as well. Last woman standing, first woman to make the final table in the modern era, and last woman standing for the second time. A lot of people were cheering for her. I think my order of guys that I was cheering for at the final table was Grinder, Leo, Kenny, and Adam. Probably would be the order that I was cheering for. So it came out pretty good for as far as that goes. But and then, you know, I don't know how much of the coverage you watched because you were playing poker all the time, but we didn't have Lon and Norm on the commentary on Poker Go. You know, it was the first time that I can ever remember them not doing the World Series of Poker. It's been a institution with them for so long. And you know, I'm a Brett Hanks fan. I do like when he does coverage. However, I really kind of miss Lon and Norm to do part of it at some point. I wish they could have been involved somehow.
I disagree with that.
Yeah.
Ali and Nick all the way.
I love Ali and Nick. Don't get me wrong. I would like my ideal combination would be Lon and Norm, and then Ali and Nick at night. And
I think Lon and Norm only succeed in the prepackaged format. Like they've tried live streams the last few years, and it's not been well received.
You know, I'm fans of all of them. To me, there's clearly a team A, and then everybody else is kind of on. And Ali and Nick they're more than we deserve as a poker community. They are absolutely fantastic at storytelling, at engagement, at humor, at analysis. We are every broadcast that we get to listen to that have those two. We are lucky as poker fans. I think Brent and I was very happy to have Nick Wright. Nick Wright is a huge poker fan and a very big name in sports media that can bring more eyes on our game. And he absolutely loves the game. And I was thrilled to have him and Brent on for a little bit of that. I also enjoy Lon and Norman, and I think they're going to be doing some post-production stuff, and I think that's great as well. I think the coverage was really good this year, to be honest.
And Blesnick too, right? Let's not forget Blesnick.
I mean, Blez was amazing. I think Donnie Peters did a great job when he was there. Remco, all the special guests that they had come in. I think the commentary has gotten better as it's gone. I think that there have been some weak spots. I'm not going to name any particular people in general. Just there have been some weak spots in general. I'm not saying Lon and Norman. I do like Lon and Norman, but from time to time there have been some weak spots in the booth. Not necessarily for the main event coverage, just like just throughout the whole thing. And I think their Poker Go is getting better and better. And the more stuff that they do, the more time that people get a chance to be on, the better they get. And the more they kind of weed through the cast of characters that can come in and do a good job. So, yeah, I think Poker Go's did a great job. And although I did miss Lon and Norman somewhat, I think that I was very happy listening to Brent and Nick, and I was very happy listening to Ali and Norm and the people that they had throughout. I also, I can't believe I listed the people without saying my good friend David Tuckman. I think David Tuckman is fantastic at poker announcing as well. I've done several live streams with him, and I think he's very good at the job as well. So, and if I missed some others out there, apologize. But yeah, I think we're in a pretty good place when it comes to poker commentary. I enjoy listening to it. I enjoy doing it when I'm given an opportunity as well. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I'll just kind of, I guess, leave it at that.
All right, fair enough. And then numbers-wise, 97-35 was the total number. I'll just say I was completely wrong when I said that I thought that the World Series of World Series of Poker in general, the attendance would be down. Couldn't have been more wrong. It was only 300 off last year, the third highest World Series, or 300 or 400 from last year, the third highest World Series of Poker main event of all time. And from all indications, I haven't seen total numbers yet, but it seemed like there was no drop off at the World Series as far as attendance goes this year. In fact, some of the events had huge upticks as well. We talked about Grindr a little bit, but just quickly, like, to win, I don't know that there's an analogy out there there certainly isn't in poker, in sports, in any kind of walk of life, of what the Grindr managed to pull off. And I don't know that there's a context that we can put it in for normal people, because I was talking to somebody, I'm like, you have no idea what this person did this year, and they don't follow poker. And I'm trying to explain to him, and he's like, well, he won a couple of poker tournaments. And I'm like, well, it's not really that simple, right? Like, I think you sort of have to have context to understand what he just did. And I can't imagine we'll ever see anything like that again, or how to put it in context for normal people.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even contextual. I mean, it just kind of is what it is. I mean, you either understand it or you don't. I don't think there's a real world analogy that comes to mind straight off. But I do want to say, when are you coming out to Vegas? Because I believe on our first episode, we made a little bet where you owe me a round of golf, because you said there'd be 8,200 and I gave you 8,500, which I do honestly feel a little guilty that I was stealing, but it doesn't matter what number. And it doesn't matter what number we said I was going to win, because you were wrong.
Yeah. All right. I got your first round at Southern Highlands, and we're going to play straight up. And it'll be fun.
Straight up my ass.
And okay. So yeah, again, attendance turned out great. That's awesome. I think the last thing we should probably talk about is the player of the year. Well, also quickly, the sort of battlefield promotion to the Hall of Fame for the Grinder. Now, does he belong in the Hall of Fame after this? Absolutely. Is there a context, or is there a rule set to make this something that they can, could they pick 5 tournaments, go, if they win all these 5 tournaments in a year, he automatically gets in the World Series or into the Hall of Fame? I don't know that, it needed to be done right away. Should he be in there? Yes, 100%. But we've been told all along, we can only put one person a year in the Hall of Fame. And now we're just putting somebody else in who deserves it. Don't get me wrong. I just kind of hate the way that this happened. I don't know about you, David, but
So Daniel brought it up the night before, and I was thinking about it, and I thought the idea was fine, but I didn't like it, mainly because I wanted Grinder to be celebrated for his main event victory last night, and for the week to come, and for the year to come. And then next year he gets to be celebrated again by getting the Hall of Fame. I thought that that's kind of what he deserved, because it's kind of like, my wife always complains to me that her birthday and Valentine's Day are the same day, so she kind of gets one thing. It's kind of like that, you just kind of like mix two things together. And he's not going to be any more happy because he got the Hall of Fame induction. Like, he's still going to be at a 10 out of 10 happiness because he won the main event. So I would give him his chance to be celebrated and get his flowers for the Hall of Fame next year. That being said, it was a cool moment. I don't think we need to have any rules. I don't think we have to change anything. I don't think anything needs to happen other than just saying what happened this year, from a Hall of Fame worthy resume to win the PPC, not only just win it, but win it for the 4th time and follow it up with a main event, straight up victory and thrashing on the likes of which we have probably never seen. Maybe McKeon, McKeon probably the closest thing to the thrashing that Grindr did, but his achievement was so off the scales, impressive, amazing, that he deserves to be. I'm fine with it. I would have, like I said, I would have chosen to have it next year just because of that. But I think not only that, but I think it's kind of good that it happened in retrospect, because next year we get to debate and argue the merits of Scott Seaver versus Jeremy Osmus versus Jason Kuhn. Whereas we wouldn't be having those arguments. It would just basically be a foregone conclusion, Grindr's getting in. So now we really get to discuss those three and maybe somebody else that I missed. But I think if you ask most people, those three would probably be the preeminent names that you would talk about: Osmus, Seaver, Kuhn. Maybe Galfan. Just because of his work outside of the game, he kind of changed the game, and he was such an early contributor to everything. But yeah, I think that it frees up that. I mean, the Hall of Fame discussion is getting kind of old in general because every single person in the poker world thinks that, we've gotten to a point where the Hall of Fame is a little ridiculous, that there's not more people in. We should be celebrating. Just because you let more people in doesn't make it the Hall of Mediocrity. It's still the Hall of Fame. There are more people that deserve to be in. Why do we not have like an actual place that we can celebrate poker's achievements and have more people in, their stories, a place that we could visit? Like, the World Series makes enough money. Like, I think that this is something that should be on the radar. Maybe Gigi does that. I don't know. But the conversation on the Hall of Fame is kind of just gotten a little old. As somebody who has dreamed of being in the Hall of Fame, like, for years and years, knowing that, like, no matter what I kind of do, I'll never have the opportunity because the backlog is such that it doesn't really matter how many people I pass and how, long my list of achievements come in. That's just not going to be something that's in the cards. I'm fine with it because, I don't deserve it in regards to the one person per year, but it would be nice to get the backlog out. So, like, I could at least get in the conversation. That kind of thing, I think, deserves, to be looked at. There's no reason why, like Josh Aria, for instance, he had his moment to get in 2 years ago, where he was kind of like the co-favorite with Antonius, but Antonius got voted in that year, and I would guess Josh got a close second. Well, now Josh is not even in the discussion, and that's not really right. He's had a Hall of Fame career, and now that we're getting more people, the year after, Sean Deeb's going to be up. So now, if Seaver doesn't get in next year, or Osmus doesn't get in next year, or Kuhn doesn't get in next year, like, are they getting skipped again for Deeb? Then it's Ike Axton. And, at some point, it's like, these guys are worthy of the Hall of Fame. Maybe they came in second, but then 2 years later, they're not even worthy of being in the discussion. It's kind of weak, but that's just kind of how the Hall of Fame goes at this point.
Hopefully we can move to 2 a year. That'd be nice.
I was trying to think of an analogy for Grindr. Tell me what you think of this. Tiger comes back, age 40, wins back-to-back majors, but he also has to win a coin flip on every hole.
Tiger's actually a pretty good analogy because in his day, he was just dominant. He was a force. He was somebody that, like, he intimidated people into cowering, and that's kind of how he won. And then he went through life struggles, the car accident, the addiction, the blowing his knee out. That was Grinder. Like, Grinder went through it all. But I'm not saying like addiction or anything but he went through a lot of tough times. And then Tiger came back and he won the Masters. And that was the story that we all loved as golf fans, like the redemption of our hero. And that was kind of Grinder this year.
Yeah, indeed. Congrats to Sean Deeb for winning his second Player of the Year. Yeah, I mean, I think we'll end on this, but the Grinder wins the PPC in the main, and he ends up third. I think he's third in the Player of the Year standing. So, we got a lot of smart people in the poker world. I hope somebody can put together, and I know we struggle with it every year, something that makes sense for the Player of the Year. And not that Sean doesn't deserve it, because he's fantastic and he had a great year and all that. But it's I don't know that there's a perfect answer. There probably isn't. So maybe we'll just leave it at that.
There comes a point where you just, tournaments have to be weighted, and they're weighted in certain ways. And, Grinder's tournaments were weighted highly, but he also didn't have any other strong results. Benny's tournaments were weighted extremely on the weaker side because of the buy-in level and the number of people that were in there. And Sean had a combination of winning a prestigious event with a high price point with multiple other high results. Do I think this will be remembered as the year of Sean Deeb? No. This is the year of Grinder. Grinder was the Player of the Year, but he didn't win Player of the Year. We're all given the formula. We're all given the outline of what it takes to win, and you don't just change the rules as it goes. We're all given the scoring system, and Sean won Player of the Year. And whether you think that, like, this World Series won't be remembered as the Sean Deeb World Series. But that doesn't mean that Sean wasn't the Player of the Year. He got the most points. The formula is given out, and his World Series was really, really quite amazing. He was literally a couple cards away from winning 4 bracelets, I think. Yeah. And the love and passion he gives to not only the World Series, but the banner of Player of the Year and the pride and the way that he approaches that is something that I admire. And I admire Sean as a player and as an ambassador for the game. And I think if Benny would have won, that would have been great. Benny had, even though it was all front loaded, to have 3 bracelets is Player of the Year quality. If Grinder won, obviously, I think we all think that Grinder was the Player of the Year in if we were voting. I'm just glad Kabrhel didn't win. I mean, honestly, that's probably like that would be the worst thing possible. But Sean deserved it. Sean's Player of the Year. Sean's going to get the banner, but Grinder's going to have 2 banners of his own. I mean, he's got the PPC and the main event banner in the same year. So this will always be the year of Grinder, and rightfully so. I'm sure. I mean, obviously, Sean would trade his summer for Grinder's summer. So,
indeed.
Yeah, but props to Sean. He deserved it. He's a good ambassador and a great player, and he's a friend. And I'm happy that he won because I know how much it meant to him. And yeah,
there you go. It's his second one. And then, quickly, the 25K fantasy run by Daniel Negreanu, the $25,000 buy-in. Team BTG takes it down. And I think they had Ike for $1. And he ended up getting a couple hundred points. Dylan Lindy was on that team as well. And then Brett Ritchie's team, Crunkiest Crew, took down the ODB $500 WSOP Fantasy League for 80,000. He got a 160x on his 500.
Yep.
And then fine. Oh yeah. So I imagine you got any announcements as far as payouts and all that go?
Yeah, I mean, by the time you listen to this, I'll probably have contacted most of you, but just give me a few days. It's a lot to contact, to do all the accounting and contact 87 people and find out the best way. And, the one thing I will say is if you're getting paid, I put a lot of work into this thing, like make it easy for me. If I ask you, if I need you to meet me somewhere, then you meet me. Like, I don't need to go to 87 places to pay out to you guys. But no, this year was a massive success for fantasy poker. Daniels had 24 teams. Everybody so engaged. Mine had the largest ever. I don't remember exactly what we had. 900, maybe something over 900, I think. Or maybe just shy of 900, but we had by far the largest ever. People were engaged to the very end. A lot changed on the final few days. Poker.org, their coverage was a big success. Their free roll was great. And also, again, want to thank Survivor Sweat, who sponsored my fantasy league, and also I'll be working with during football season. So I just want to thank them, and visit survivorsweat.com for all your Circa Survivor needs. We have a proxy service, code ODB for discounted rate. And look for me. I'm going to be doing content here with this pod, but I'll also be going to be doing some Survivor Sweat pod stuff and some content with them. So if you can't get enough of this great voice, we'll be multiple places this football season.
And imagine on the golf course as well, right?
Yeah, I'm going golfing tomorrow. Only my second time of the summer. I wasn't going to play it all this summer, and I got a text from our good friend FBT on July 3rd.
Well, he plays golf now. Finally, it took him forever.
Yeah, he texted me. He's like, "Hey, you want to go play Shadow tomorrow?" And for those who are golf fans, Shadow Creek is you do not miss the opportunity to go play Shadow Creek. So I went and played with FBT, Paul Volpe, and Taylor Power, and I beat all of them. Nice. I played so good. I had never played with Volpe and Taylor before, and they're like, "You sure this handicap's right?" And FBT's like, "Yeah, it's right." I was like, I was so good, but we didn't play for big money or anything. It was just a few $100, whatever. But it was fun. Shadow was in great shape, and getting a chance to play Shadow Creek is always fun. But tomorrow is my first official day off of where I have an opportunity to go play golf. So I will be on the links tomorrow.
Say hi to Matt for me, and have a good round. And thanks to everybody out there for joining us for this one. It's a little long, but we had a lot to get to in this catch-up of the World Series of Poker. We'll try and keep these to about an hour each week, but that one was a little long. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you soon.